Welcome to another edition of the Black Male Podcast. I am your host, AP, and today's show is going to be titled The Holiday Blues. This is episode 51 of the show. It's called The Holiday Blues. And before we really get into the show's title and the content, I'm going to explain the reason why it's called The Holiday Blues. So when you typically think about holidays, you think about all the good things starting when you first had these ideas and the things that come about a holiday, the joy, admiration that you want all these things to come about. And you really think about everything good about that. Only time when something bad happens do those holidays change for you. And the reason why I decided to name this show The Holiday Blues is the premise is for breakups. It's the premise for breakups. Now, a breakup is a very difficult thing for a lot of people to go through. I've had my fair share of breakups, and I know a lot of other people have had their fair share of breakups because sometimes you could be with the right person at the wrong time. Sometimes you could be with the wrong person at any time. And sometimes you can just be just in the wrong space at that time. And a lot of times when people are faced with certain difficulties and certain things that they have with other people, that they're looking for something in someone that they need themselves, that they are lacking in themselves. No one wants to be by themselves. No one deserves to be by themselves. We are not born or made to be isolative or not be or have someone, because there is someone out there for everyone. The key is, what am I doing for myself to put myself in a situation where I'm going to find that person that's going to be my person? Now, with me saying that, I don't want people to think that I'm saying you have to find the perfect person, because there is no perfect person. There's going to be someone that you're going to be with or you're going to jail with, that you're going to have some ups and downs. You're going to have some things go wrong. You're going to have some arguments, some disagreements, some frustration, all kind of things. And that's all a part of the process. The thing is, if you get to a point where it's too much or too deep for you, that's when the breakup comes. And sometimes those breakups are the best thing for you, because sometimes you have to separate yourself from that person. And then sometimes it's just because it needs to happen. If it needs to happen, then we ought to just let that go and let it happen. But nobody teaches you, and you're not formed to think that way, because no one gets with anybody and thinks about what can go wrong. Now, well, I'll take that back. Some people do. But the majority of people do not have an avenue or have a thought process of going to be with somebody and having this thing with someone, and then all of a sudden you aren't with that person. And that could be a very hard, trying thing for some people. It could be a very hard, trying thing for, the majority of people that's out there. But the main premise is that when you're going through these breakups, there's some things that happen for you, and there could be some things that happen to you that will force you to be in that situation. And like I said earlier, sometimes that breakup is very important. The first thing we need to understand is why the breakup is so hard. And the reason why the breakup is so hard is because it takes us through an emotional, painful experience that we've had with someone. Anytime that you've tied or you spend time with someone, you build memories, you have things that you've done, and you have a life with someone, and it doesn't matter how long you've been with them, because I'll tell you the truth. You can be with somebody for years, not know them and not have anything, or spend time with them, and then, you have to separate yourself. Or you can be with someone for a short period of time and you can feel like they're your everything, and then something happens to where you have to let that person go. Then you're going to go through these things. The reason why it's so emotionally draining is because the connection, the time and effort that you put into that person. Sometimes people don't see the time and effort or the energy it took for you to be in a particular space or a place for you to be with them. Sometimes people see you where you are and just think that, oh, okay, I really like this person. I really gel with this person because there's something in them that I like. And then sometimes people see the outer and they want to be attached to that. But that attachment will come with some hardships. And a lot of times those hardships are non-negotiable. With those hardships will come some things that are very, very difficult for you to understand, comprehend, or even just they're deal breakers. They're deal breakers. So I want to take a deep dive into this subject because I feel like there's a lot of things that happen out there when people are breaking up, and like I said, I've been through my fair share of breakups before, but there's things that people don't talk about when it comes to that. The main thing is how it makes you think, what it makes you feel, and how you are as a person while you're going through that breakup and then even after that. See, the hard part about that is that when you finally find someone that you really want to gel with and everything is going well, and that part of that relationship where it could be the plateau where all the honeymoon phase is over and now I really got to really dig deep and invest my time and energy into this person. And it doesn't have to be a financial thing, because investing in someone is your time and energy as well. It's that I allowed myself to be in your space. I allowed you to be in my space. And sometimes people take that for granted when it comes to being with them, because I don't think some people really understand that it may have taken me hell and back to be the person that I am right now, or even to be a functioning human being at this moment in time, for me to allow myself to even be around people, because I may have gone through something, or I may be currently dealing with something or going through something that's very difficult and taxing and toxic for me, that I'm trying to break away from. And a lot of people don't get that. They don't see that. Because to tell the truth, some people can be in a situation and the next thing you know, they're in another situation, and they're never really thinking about what can come out and the end of that. And the only thing that can come out the end of that is they're just setting a trail for people to follow, where I'm going to take everything bad that I have from everybody else before you, and I'm going to dump it on your doorstep. And when I dump it on your doorstep, I'm going to expect you to deal with it. And if you are not going to deal with it, then I'll just move you along and I'll go with someone else. The thing about that is some people think they have more options than others, which is not true. Everybody has options. It was a choice. It's your choice to be with that person. It's their choice to be with you. At some point in time, you guys had some foundational principle that you guys began to like each other. There was something that came about where you guys began to want to spend time with each other. You start doing things. I'm all for doing like small things and building up your relationship, because that's your foundation. But if I don't have a strong foundation and we're just doing some things, then eventually while we're together, it's going to crumble, because I'm not really lined up with this person. And sometimes we line ourselves up with people that we really shouldn't even be around. They were just there at that moment. And those breakups are easy because we both know that that's not going to work. And we both know what we were in it for. It's just now the time is up. Now we need to go. And a lot of those are sexual based relationships. Now, a lot of those sexual based relationships never turn out to be anything lasting, because I ain't got nothing to stand on. This is all we're here for. So there's nothing that's going to say that I need to stay with you or you're going to stay with me, because we're going to catch feelings because of what we're doing. But it doesn't mean that we have anything that's going to be long term, because at the end of the day, what we got into this thing for? We got into it for our own personal selfish reasons. And that's what it is. Now, if you get into a situation or a relationship where you're with somebody and you really, really dig this person, and this person could be your person, and there's hardships that you have through that, but you guys don't sit and talk about things, or there's things that you guys talk about and one person is stuck on like their past because some things have happened to them that they're not fully over or adjusted, or you may have done something that may have triggered a past trauma or a past event in them. And now they think that the same thing's going to happen again, and they will draw back from it. They'll start to move back. They'll start to withdraw from you, and they'll also start treating you a little differently. And in your mind, you're going to think that what's going on with this person? Why are they drawing back from me? But the idea is that you may not never know, because they never told you. If they never tell you anything, then how is it that you're going to hold me accountable for something that I didn't know? because everybody's going to have self-preservation when it comes to that, because I still need to be myself after all of this is over. Doing the research for this show, I've come across a bunch of little clips, little memes, little everything. And you know what? It just solidified everything of why this show was important, because everybody has their own opinion about how a breakup should be, how you should feel about it, and how you should go about it after it's over. Some people say just go ahead and let them be with the person that they chose, and they never really chose you and they chose other people. Or there's some posts out there where a man said that, if this person is living for the gram, let them stay for the gram. Why am I going to compete with somebody that they would never meet? And that was pretty telling, because sometimes people will see things in a certain realm or on a certain social media post, and they're attracted to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the idea is that this person is never going to meet you, ever. And by chance, if they ever met you, you might not even like this person, because in their mind, the only thing they really want to do or be around you is that they just want something from you. And sometimes people are so jaded that they don't even believe that. They think that they have everything that anybody could ever want. Now, that's the issue that they need to address themselves. But if you're caught up in a situation where you are with somebody and that is what they got going on, then that's not okay. The main thing is that I need to be okay even in this relationship with you, because if this doesn't turn out well, I have to be able to pick up the pieces. Picking up the pieces is very difficult, and it's very hard for some people. Now, think about that yourself. And now, I said myself, I've been through my fair share of breakups, and I don't mind sharing some of them with y'all, which I probably will. But think about a time when you had a breakup in a relationship and how it made you feel. What did you think in that breakup? How did you get out of that, and how did you get over that? Sometimes people will say, oh, a breakup doesn't affect a man like it will affect a woman, because it's easy for a man to go to somebody else because that's what men do. Not necessarily. Maybe the majority of men, but not all men deal with that, because as a man, when you get to a certain age and you go through a breakup, it could be catastrophic for you, especially if you're establishing yourself or you're already established, because that man wants you. That man don't want nothing you can give him. He wants you at a certain time, because after everything that this man has been through, and I'm going to be honest with you, and a lot of women do not get this and do not understand this. There's a lot of things that men go through in a lot of relationships that women themselves, if they heard about it, they will first say, well, that's your fault for going through that. You should know better. You should have been with that person. But a man can say the same thing to a woman. You should have known better before you got into that situation. But we all have had blinders on when it comes to being with somebody, because we want to see where this thing is going to go. We want to make sure that we're not just wasting our time with somebody. But if we feel like we're wasting our time with someone, then that's the hard part. When it finally slaps us in the face, like we get hit in the face with a brick, it's so difficult and devastating to us. Like, I can't believe you did this to me, because I would never do that to you. I can't believe you put me in this situation, because I would never put you in a situation like that, where you yourself have to question my loyalty or my commitment in this thing. Breakups happen to everybody. Breakups are not just for people who aren't married. Some of those breakups are even worse than the breakups with people who aren't married, because they have a shared venture. A lot of people that are married that break up or they decide to get divorced, there's a lot of things that go into that too, which we'll get into later on. But there's a lot of things that go into this breakup idea or this breakup pattern. And you can tell how something's going to go with somebody. And someone said this a long time ago, and I'm sure a whole bunch of people have heard this before. You can tell how your relationship is going to go if a certain person start doing certain things, or just ask the person that they were with, and you'll know how it's going to end. And that's sad. Because if I need to talk to somebody that you were with, first of all, that's none of my business, because me and you got something completely different than what you and that person had. And it's going to be different. You know why? Because I'm not that person. And you're not the person that replaced the person for me at all. Each individual time that you get with somebody, it is a different venture in your life. Sometimes you're going to get in that venture where I'm in a different place and time in my life, and I want to share my life with somebody. And if I choose to share my life with someone, they need to respect my time, my energy, my boundaries, and respect me. If they cannot respect me, that's an issue. Sometimes people will throw out this term red flags. And a red flag is something where it just says I need to stop and pause and really think through what is going on. So, because sometimes when these things happen, some of us gloss over and like, well, it's okay. We just make excuses, because some people cleave to other people because they're just happy to have someone. All the while, other people may be telling you that that person ain't no good for you. You see all the stuff that this person is going and doing to you, and I can't believe that you're allowing this person to do this, because a lot of times people who are self-driven and people who have a lot of things going for them, they don't choose well when it comes to a partner. And meanwhile, they're at home alone, or they do things alone, and they wonder why they're alone, but there's a reason why you're alone, because the person that you're with, or the person that you were with, they didn't see the value in you. And if they don't see the value in you, how could you possibly expect to see the value in yourself? Because that's what starts first. If I see the value in myself, there's no way that you could possibly tell me or convince me that I'm anything lower than what you're trying to portray to me. Because a lot of people are very crafty, because all they're doing is saying, I'm not going to let you do to me what the last person did to me. But again, I'm not that person. Obviously, I'm not that person, because if you thought I was that person, then you'd probably still be with them right now. And if that's what you want to do, then by all means, please go to them. I myself, and I will tell you this. This is a little personal thing for me. So, if you are with me and we don't work out, and it's something that I did, and I don't readily apologize for that, or I don't have any type of care about that, because we've gone and I've allowed things to play out and things happen for certain reasons. Depending on who you are, I'm just going to let you go. I'm just going to let you be you. I'm not even going to say a word. I'm going to say a closing goodbye to you, and that's it. Okay, I'm going to close the door, because I have to close the door. Because if I leave that door cracked, I'm letting everything that I've just been through come right back and lay right at my doorstep. Meanwhile, you don't know the toll that is taken on me. That happens to everybody. That happens to everybody. Everybody that has that type of situation happen to them. And everybody has that. And I don't think people really understand the place that some people are in when they get with you. Some people probably have gotten out one of the most horrendous situation where it took a lot for them to dig themselves out of that rabbit hole to even see the light at the surface. And even when they start climbing out of that hole and they start standing on solid ground, some people will then see, like, I like who this person is. They look good to me. I like this person. I like what they got going on. Or I could vibe, I could gel with it. But the thing is, that person might not have a care for you, because you may remind them of somebody that they dealt with before, and they don't want to align themselves with you. Now, they may entertain you here and there. They may say, okay, we could do some things, because at the end of the day, like I said, no one wants to be alone, and no one deserves to be alone. And they just might want your company in your time, but that doesn't mean they want something with you. Now, if somebody does that and they put you in a particular situation where you feel like it's compromising for me to then start thinking about how I'm going to feel because I'm with this person or around this person, that's a problem. That's an issue. So I'm going to load this clip I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to load this clip real fast. And this clip, this lady's talking about how how we align ourselves with people that technically tells us who we are or where we are. So give me a second. Let me load this up. Okay.
That they can tell how much you love yourself by the partner that you've chosen. Does that feel like a compliment or an insult? Passing a judgment on your relationship, but the way you feel about that question can offer a lot of insight. You tolerated treatment that really doesn't feel great. It doesn't really feel loving. It's not what someone would put up with if they loved themselves. Or, man, I've chosen a really patient, loving, incredible person. You know, some part of me must like myself enough to choose someone who loves me in such a way. It's really mostly about reflection.
Funny thing about that is that she's right. I choose someone based on if I care about myself. And sometimes we choose the wrong people for the wrong reasons because some people just want somebody to be there. There was somebody who told me something a long time ago and said, I like to be there for somebody and I'm not just a warm body for them. You might be. You might just be that warm body for them because they might not even like you. They might not. And the reason why they might not like you is you as a person. But think about that for a second, what she said. What if someone said they can tell how much you like yourself based on the person you chose? And think back on any relationship that you've been in before that you probably should not have been in. And at that time when you were with that person, how that person made you feel and what you got out of it. And then think about why you had to break up from that person. And then think about what you went through after that breakup. See, some people will like to say that I need to have a no contact with that person because if I have a no contact with this person, what that means is I'm not going to call them. They're not going to call me. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to see them. I'm not going to go around them. I'm going to take these certain parameters so that I can avoid any type of interaction with this person. Sometimes that works, but a lot of times it doesn't because sometimes some people won't let go. Sometimes when it's too late, some people want to hold on to something, but I've already given you the warning. This is the result of what I've been telling you. I have to love myself enough to know that I don't have to continue to go through this and deal with this. But depending on how much I love myself, it's going to show in the person that I choose. And if I don't choose wisely, I'm going to continue this cycle, like I said before, of the same type of people that I get with. And that says a lot. And people who are paying attention, they can see that. And you know who pays attention to that the most? Your family or your close friend. And those that are your family, your close friend that are actually in your corner, they'll tell you, I don't know about this person. I don't think that's a good idea. But that's your business. But I don't know if I really gel with that person right there. And you can tell by their attitude and their behavior when these people come around. And you can also tell what happens when they do things with you, right? Or the things that you go around and you have with this person. Then you break up. Then your holiday is over. Then all those nice, beautiful things that you wanted to do and you planned on doing, it turns sour. Because now you really start to see after that honeymoon, you start to see who this person is. Now I really got to I got to see about myself. Am I okay? Why ending this thing had to hurt so bad? And I'll tell you why it hurt so bad. Because you actually cared. See, most people who care or they've dug themselves out of something and now they're in another situation, they put a lot into it. And sometimes they'll have, their boundaries up, which is okay. You need to have those up. I don't have to have the door wide open for you to walk in there. If I have the door open for me just for you to put a foot in, that's enough sometimes. But you have to walk slowly when you walk in this door. Reason being is you don't know what I just dealt with. And I may not trust myself with you because I may be a repeat of what I've already done. Or if I've already been with you before and we decided to try this thing again, because sometimes that happens too. I may try this thing again and you do something that you did before. And I'll be like, you know what? I just can't do it. I can't do it. And the main thing is that, especially with people who try again, and the first thing that happens is that you go back and do the same thing, or you're still the same person, and you feel like, oh, I'm with this person again. But you got to rejuvenate everything that you've already started. It happens again. That's why the breakup is so important. That's why it's necessary, because I have an emotional attachment to people. When you emotionally attach yourself to someone, it's like your soul is tying itself to someone else's soul. Also, what happens to that is like, I become something different with this person. I may start talking different. I might start acting different. I may start looking different. I feel a little different. Why? Because this person may evoke something in me that's a change that I might not be recognizing myself. And if I don't recognize it myself, then other people are going to see that. And then sometimes when that happens, I compromise who I am, and I need to let that person go. Now, humans form a deep emotional status when they get with someone. There's no way you can really say that you're in a relationship with someone, or your girlfriend, boyfriend, or however your dynamic is, and you're with somebody. The premise is that you have a person and you're with that person and you decide to have something with that person. And when you got to break up, it's so devastating, because once you've already invested a lot into somebody, or you invested into something, or you poured into them, and it doesn't turn out well, it's hard for you. You've created a bond of some sort with this person. That's why it's very difficult to just attach yourself to a lot of people. See, some people just need to be around you just to be around you. Some people don't need to be with you to be with you. That's important, because when you start dancing at the circus, you're waiting for the clowns to come out. And that happens a lot. Because if I go to the circus and I'm looking for the clown show, that's what I'm going to get. And that's why I got to break up with the clowns. I got to separate myself. But a lot of times when we sit there and we really think that I'm in a better space, I'm living in this different era, but I choose different, I need to be different. I got a concept for everybody. If you really look at it, let's think about this. Some people love on the level that they're used to. And some people love on the level that they're capable of loving on. I need to love on this level because it's comfortable for me. I may love down because I don't require nothing. They don't require nothing from me just for me to be around. So there's nothing for me to lose with being with them. If I break up with them, then guess what? It's just a loss. I'm just going to count that. Matter of fact, it might not be a loss. It might be a win because I ain't around them. If I try to love up because somebody's in a different space and I see that and I'm striving to do that and it doesn't work out, it may be something that's going on within that dynamic that made that happen. But I need to be honest with myself in that, because a lot of people are not honest with themselves about the things that they do. And especially if they're just pointing the finger at the other person. And it could be anybody that they're pointing the finger at in this relationship. But if I'm pointing the finger at my partner and saying that everything that this person is doing is wrong, that's on me. You know why? I chose them. I chose them. I chose to be in their space. I chose for them to be in my space. And if I forget and I look over some things because I say, oh, well, that's just that person, it's just going to continue to grow and manifest into something different and something that we're not expecting. Okay? When the breakup happens, it does something to your brain. It changes you. It changes a lot of the way that you feel and the way that you go about dealing with people. See, sometimes a breakup will show you who you truly are. It will show you what you truly want. It will also show you where you are at that current space and time. The reason being is because I lose my identity in somebody. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Okay, so this is what I'm going to tell about a personal story of mine. Okay, personal time, story time, as one of my friends say. Story time, I was with somebody for some years, and it was cool. It was really good. It's like we had our own little crew, our own little family. We would go on vacations together. We would do different things together, and everything seemed like it was good. You know, there was things that happened in that relationship that, things that I did, things that that person did. But you know what? We worked it out. We talked it out. It took a hit, but there was things that we worked on it. And that's what you're supposed to do when you're with somebody. You're supposed to work on it because it's constant, consistent work. Nothing's ever going to be easy if it's worth it, right? But then it became to be some things that were non-negotiable, like time and effort and being around and being honest with your true feelings. Because if you're honest with your true feelings, I don't have to guess about that. I should know that. I should know that. It was my choice to walk away from that. And the reason why I walked away from that is because I felt like I wasn't being taken serious, number one, as a person. And then I started to look at myself and say, you know what? That's my fault. Because either I stayed in there too long or I didn't choose myself when I should have chosen myself. And now that I am going to choose myself, a lot of this stuff going to be different. And the reason why things change like that is because when you get with somebody, you lose yourself. You lose yourself in someone because two halves become a whole. Now, sometimes my half may be 20%, your half may be 80%, but together we're a whole. And a lot of people think that a relationship is 50-50, and it's not that way. And that's why a lot of people break up, because they want you to come in with the same effort and energy as they do. Sometimes I might not have it today. You may not have it today. But I'm supposed to make up what you don't have. You're supposed to make up what I don't have, because I'm supposed to pour into you and you pour into me. We pour into what we got. If it doesn't work like that, then we're going to have some holiday blues around here. Why? Because it's going to be over. We can't do this, right? You will always think about these things. Is this breakup necessary? Is this breakup going to help me be the person I need to be? Not be with someone else. But the people that do that and they break up and they jump right into somebody else, or they always jump to somebody that's already been in their phone, I ain't talking to you. I'm talking to the people. I ain't got to you yet. I'm talking to the people that have actually poured into something, that really actually cared about somebody, and now they're on the deep end or the BS end of all of that, because you don't know the toll that it took for them to be with that person, and also what it took for them to dig and drag themselves out. Because I'll tell you, I know somebody who's going through that. I know somebody that's a very good person, and she just had, I'm just going to say it, a shitbag person as a partner. She did. Very well educated, very accomplished person, but she had a shitbag ass person. And he knows he's a shitbag, but he will point the finger at everybody else and say, because you did this, this is the reason I did this. Homeboy, you got to check yourself. Because the only thing that he's going to do is he's going to align himself with the same type of person that he's trying to be with. Because in his mind, or in his dynamic, this is what he needs to be. Well, she walked away from it, and she told him, go ahead and go be with the people that make you the happiest. And that is nothing but great. And I applauded her for that, because you know why? You couldn't tell that this person was going through this unless she told you. But to see this person start crying because of all the things that she finally had to dump that emotional baggage, because she really poured into something, and she stayed in something for too long that she really didn't even want to be in the first place, because those signs were there. And she didn't, it's not like she forgave him or she just forgot about things. They were always at the forefront. The next time something happened, she was right there. The next time it was this, she questioned something. The next time this happened, it was always something. It was always something. And she always felt like she did, but you would never know it because she kept it to herself. Now, what if she decided to lash out and just jump the gun and do something foolish or something like that? She would lose everything she worked hard for. And that would be sad for her and for, her crew. That wouldn't be good for her. The bad thing is that people like her person, they think they're entitled to things that they really ain't entitled to. You know why? you ain't even put in a tenth of what you're supposed to put in. And I ain't talking about financially. We're going to talk about time and effort being your money and you putting into what we got. Because if you can't do that, you deserve to be by yourself. You deserve it. And you deserve every bad negative thing that happens to you. And the reason why is because you were never really there for me. Especially people who use people. And that other person that's being used, they decide to go ahead and get up out of there because they don't want to be around. Because I'm tired of going ahead and being the one that's supposed to have all the answers for something. And I'm tired of being the person that is always supposed to be the one to make these ends meet and have everything done. Where's my leeway? Where is it when I ask for something, I can get it without even worrying about, or I can come to you and have these things and not even worry about having a no or something else happen. There's people out there that do that. But there's also some other people who just don't care. They just don't give a damn. And those people who just don't give a damn, there's a special place for you. They're never going to be happy. If someone were to leave me for somebody else, and I know they're going with somebody else, by all means, they can have you. Because if you decided to leave me, and this isn't like being up on myself, but if you decide to leave me for somebody else, like right after that breakup, and I know you with somebody, then you deserve that person. And they deserve the version of you finna get. And I need to be thankful that I am rid of that person. And sometimes people are thankful that someone else is going to deal with that person. And then sometimes we feel bad because we feel like we've just been used for all this time that we've been with them. And you went and chose somebody else. And you say that you weren't talking to that person. But everybody knows that everybody that done been around the block, they know that that's not true. Because there's no way you can be in a committed relationship with somebody and you all of a sudden, now you want to go talk to somebody else. That don't make no sense. That person was already there. See, they're teeter-tottering. They're playing, it's what I call they're playing double dutch. They're double dutching on both sides. You can't be where your feet are. Why? Because they in two different camps. Some people are afraid to give themselves to somebody else because they're afraid of being hurt. But when you get in a relationship, that is a part of it. Part of relationships is painful. It can be painful because of what somebody said or what somebody did, because you will feel like, I would not do that to you. Why would you do that to me? And some people will act out because of that. Some people will lash out because of that. Because why do I have to go through this? Why is this so hard for me? And why do I have to feel like it's always me that have to be the one at the other end of this? How come I can't find nobody to be with, but that type of person can be with somebody? Well, you're different. You don't need to align yourself or even compare yourself to somebody else. Because if that person wants to leave you, let them go. Let them go. I know it sounds easy and it's hard to do, but if that person leaves you for somebody else, let the other person deal with them. Because it's only going to be a moment that they deal with them. And then that person is going to come knocking on your door again or shooting things back at you or trying to be in your space and doing all this other stuff. But you cannot forget how they made you feel. You cannot forget that. That's why some breakups are important because they're necessary. The key is, how do I heal and go from this moving forward into this? Because everybody has dealt with some sort of pain and loss while being in a relationship. And when it's time to break up, some breakups are easy and some are difficult because of the other person. They might not want to let go. But you got to let go. What you holding on for? You couldn't hold on to me when it was time to be with me. Why you holding on to me now? You might as well go ahead and cut that short. I need to be honest with myself and be truthful with myself when something happens, because this may not be the thing for me. I like you to be around because I like you as a person. I may not want you around because I don't like the things you do and I just can't deal with that. Why? If someone tells you that, that means you're doing something that reminds them of the person they used to be with. That is not you. You may have done something just like they did, and everybody does that. There's always going to be something that's going to trigger a past event that you've been with somebody, especially when you go into a relationship and you're not fully ready. Now, let's get to that. Getting into a relationship after you've just got out of one doesn't help you at all. It only stalls your progress of changing or even getting better or even getting out of some trauma bombing idea, or where people start saying all these other terms like they're breadcrumbing and I was gaslit, I was with this narcissist and all this other stuff, and I can't believe I was with this person for that long. You were given it a chance. You got to give yourself some grace. If you had known that it was going to end up like this, would you still have chosen it? Because some people will say, yeah, because the journey you enjoyed. You just didn't like some of the pit stops and some of the stops along the way that you guys got into. But you probably still will be on that journey. But the thing is, at the end of the line, when it's time to go ahead and get off that bus, and I got to separate myself from that person and get off this little relationship thing and be by myself, I got to get back to taking care of my own self. I got to get back to doing the things that I was doing before I got with this person, meaning I got to take care of myself. I saw this meme where it says, you and I were taking care of you, so now I'm sitting here while you're over there with somebody else. And that was crushing. Man, at one point I was like, I laughed at first, but then I thought about it. I said, you have to be really messed up to really come out and say that honestly, because somebody put you in that spot and somebody made you feel a certain type of way or even did something that you did not like. I have to be okay with these breakups. How do I heal after that? It's important. I got to get, like I said, I got to get back to where I was. First of all, I got to acknowledge it. I got to be okay with it. But I have to rid myself of some of the things that reminded me or put me in a spot of being with that person. It's going to take time, but it's also going to take understanding. That's how I'm going to heal myself. Then I'm going to learn that I might like different things. I might like different people. I might like to be around, a different type of crowd. But I got to let this sadness, this anger, this frustration, this loneliness, this confusion, I got to sit in it. And it's okay. It's not okay when it drives you over the wall, but it's okay to have those because you're human and you're living in the human experience, because breakups can be one of the most painful, emotional experiences of our lives. Think about the time that you really broke up from somebody that you weren't ready to break up from, or they decided that you ain't want to be with them. Some people got a certain type. You can say a lot of people got a certain type. That's only because of where you are, or they may see you with something that they want, and they figure that I'm going to line myself up with you. I don't need to be with you. You ain't got to be with me. We equally choose each other, and that's what's important. That's what's important. I need to know that having a breakup is going to be something that's going to be good, because I have to create some distance from this whole situation so I can reclaim my identity as a person. I got to, because if I don't, I'm going to be in the same thing that I just tried to get myself out of. And that's where the no contact comes in, because if you really think about it, if I really had something with somebody and we really had something, we'll work that out. We may take a break. We may not see eye to eye and we're still together. It may take some time, but guess what? It'll come back. That's not a true breakup. A true breakup is when I gotta get from around this person. I can't do it no more. I can't be with them. when I create that business, I got to avoid certain things. I got to avoid those calls, those pop-ups, going places that I know they're going to be in. A lot of people do that. That's stalkerish behavior. You should not be doing that. I'm not condoning any of the do not do that. And you won't hear me say that you should go ahead and do that. If somebody decides that you are not that person, it may be time for you to start doing things or going places that you didn't go with that person. Start reinventing yourself. Start going some places that you never thought you would go. Take a trip. Take a day trip. Jump on a plane. Jump on a bus. Get in your car. Do something different. That doesn't mean that you're trying to bury the idea of being with them. I'm living in this existence because right now, I keep turning on this music, and every music that I turn on to, it sounds like they talking to me. It sounds like they talking to me. How many of those old 1960s, 1970s songs that you heard as a kid when the older generation was playing them songs, and now it means something to you because now those words actually mean something, like Al Green's How Do You Mend a Broken Heart, or Earth, Wind, and Fire's After the Love Is Gone, and a whole bunch of other songs. Those lyrics mean something. They speak to you directly. But how do you do it? That had to come from a lot of pain. So a lot of things that come out and they're beautiful on the inside, they turn to be beautiful on the inside and outside, they started from a lot of pain. But you can get from that. You can grow from that. And the idea is that this breakup is just what you're going through right now, but it's not going to last forever. And the reason why it's not going to last forever is because you are going to find your place and even your person eventually. Once I get into a certain thing that I'm learning from this relationship, it's going to lead me to a place of peace, calmness, and I'm good. When I reflect on that relationship, I'm gonna keep playing or rehashing some of the most negative things, especially if it's still fresh, and especially if it's something that's very drastic or dramatic happened between the two of you. It's gonna be there. That's a great loss. I need to know that. What did I learn from being with this person? What did I learn about myself from being with them? Why was I with them in the first place? What drove me to them? Because sometimes the things that made me love you could be the things that pushed me away. It could be. Because you don't know that I'm drawn to you for certain things unless I tell you. I don't know that you're drawn to me for certain things unless you tell me. But we live this human experience where sometimes, like I said, these breakups are necessary. But we need to know that throughout all that emotional attachment and separating myself and going through this existence, it's a very human experience. And we all share human experiences. We all do in our own way. And a breakup is nothing different. So after you've got through your holiday and you begin to have those holiday blues, which I call a breakup phase, and you get out of that, before you get into another holiday, remember the holiday blues that you just got yourself out of, and that you can go ahead and do things a little bit differently and be a little different and change some things and speak up more for yourself, or even say, you know what? These are the things that are non-negotiable. These are the things that I will go for, and I need to give myself time and be honest with that. Okay, I'm going to leave you with this. Although breakups are painful, they can become an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. And the reason why they can do that is because how much of myself did I lose in this person? I really love this person. I was really with this person. But now, what do I know about myself? What did I learn about myself? And now how am I going to move forward with me? Because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for my own peace and happiness. That's my show for today. Thank you for watching. Join me for another episode of the Black Male Podcast. I'm your host, AP, and as always, be good to yourself and be good to others. Peace.